Dear friends, students, welcome to IAS Mentor. You are watching the mains answer writing series initiative. As a part of this initiative, I already told that I'll be doing 100 questions from all the subjects, that is GS 1, 2, 3 and 4. We already came up with the first question and we'll move to the question number 2. So initially I'll do it very slowly, but later we'll take up more questions. This is Babu Gunasekaran and I'll personally curate and complete the entire series. So quickly we'll move to the question number 2. Question number 2 is also from the UPSC question. And in fact, I said that most of the questions will be from UPSC previous year questions, but some of the questions I'll also take up the questions which may be asked in this particular year as well. Relevant questions. Alright, so please come to this particular question. Explain and distinguish between Lok Adalats and arbitration tribunals. Do they entertain civil as well as criminal cases? Very simple question, but you should know what is expected in this particular question. In fact, in the very beginning of this series, I have made one particular lecture to make you just understand as to what does it mean by directives in the question. The directives in the question convey two things. One, what is expectation of the examiner from the examiner point of view, and as a candidate appearing for the examination, how you should structure that particular question. And what is the depth of information you need to give in that particular question comes from what is called as directive. So here if you look into the directive, these two words are the key directives. This is not the subject matter, but this is a directive. The subject matter here is Lok Adalat and arbitration tribunals. So you'll have to write more about Lok Adalat and the arbitration tribunals. But however, to what extent and how you shall structure this based on this directive, that is explain and distinguish. Now because the word explain is used, the word explain means write more, elaborate more on that particular matter. Whereas distinguish means differentiate between the subject matter that is given in the question. So there are two requirements in this particular question. One is you should write more about what is called as the Lok Adalat and the system of arbitration tribunals. And in the process, you should also distinguish between them. What are the dissimilarities? What are the differences between them? So both the things has to be in the body part. So the body part is the most important area. I'll just come to this particular thing. The students keep on asking me, sir, whether this series will be useful for the students who may be preparing in the future. It is extremely useful because the major idea of this particular series is not to give you the content. So content is delivered in the other series. Say for example, Indian polity series is there. I'm doing an international relations series also. Later we may come up with certain other series also. There the core idea is to deliver the content. Here the core idea is how to use those contents. So therefore, even students who are just preparing, I would say watch these lectures. Briefly, it will help you to know as to how to structure an answer in the future when you are about to write the mains examination. Alright. Now please come here. So I said explain and distinguish is what is the directive, whereas this is a subject matter on which you have to write. Now whenever such a question is asked, you normally the structure is, this is a standard structure that is followed by most of the toppers and the students who are successful. So you can start with an introduction. Introduction for this particular question, I would say it's better to have a context for this particular question. So what is the context? The context you can pick it from the syllabus itself. Say for example, both the Lok Adalats and arbitration tribunals in our country is form of an ADR. ADR means alternate dispute resolution. An alternate dispute resolution is a system which provides for what is called as out of court settlement, an alternative to court settlement. So therefore you can give a context. So probably you can start you can start by giving a brief introduction. For example, you can say Lok Adalats and arbitration tribunals in our country are form of alternate dispute resolution which allows for out of court settlement rather than going to courts for the settlement. Though both are alternate dispute resolution mechanisms, they have different objectives. Because both these systems has been a kind of alternate dispute resolution, but they have their own objectives. So you don't have to explain about the objectives there, but probably you can give a context as is they're part of what is called as ADR, though with what is called as different objectives. So this was just 2-3 lines. You can give the introduction there, and then probably you can come to what is called as your body part. It is in the body part you can explain more about them. You can talk about their objectives and all those things, because question means write more about. Give more information about the tribunals, that is the arbitration tribunals as well as Lok Adalat. So in the first part of the body part, that is you can say it as a first paragraph. So here I have divided my body part into 3 paragraphs which will meet the demands of the question. So you can do it in the form of paragraphs, you can do it in the form of tables, it can be a combination of both the things, but make sure that you are addressing whatever is asked in the question. So in the first paragraph, if I have to write the answer, how would I say? I'll explain more about what I know in case of Lok Adalat and arbitration tribunal. That is a requirement in the question. So I can say that the Lok Adalat in our country is established based on what is called as the Legal Services Authority Act. That's a statutory backing. So it is a Legal Services Authority Act that established what is called as Lok Adalat. And the Lok Adalat allows for a system of alternate dispute resolution mechanism. Especially the objective of this particular act is to provide what is called as equal access to justice, especially when it comes to the poor people, and also at the same time to reduce the pendency of cases in the court. So that's the objective. So here you can talk about the objective in the process of explaining that. Similarly, when it comes to arbitration tribunals, you can talk about what is the statutory backing. The statutory backing behind the arbitration tribunal is the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. And the objective of this particular act is to provide for an out of court settlement, especially when it comes to what is called as commercial disputes. The dispute that arise out of contract between various parties when they do the business and all those things. So here you can give a brief explanation about what you know in case of Lok Adalat and the arbitration tribunal. So I think the first part of the answer is done. So explain about it is done. So you are given more information. Now come to the second part, that is distinguish between Lok Adalat and arbitration tribunal, how they are different from one another. Though broadly both of them fall under what is called as alternate dispute resolution mechanism. So that can be done in what is called as para number 2. So you can make it as a paragraph, or after completing the first paragraph, you can give a side heading, a subheading saying that dissimilarities or differences between Lok Adalat and arbitration. You can make a table, whatever it is. It can be a combination of any of these things, but you should give the content, appropriate content. So once you come to the second paragraph or in the tabular format, here you are going to distinguish between the thing. So the basic differences, though they both are what is called as ADR mechanisms, the basic difference is in the nature of proceedings. When you take off Lok Adalat is very informal in nature. So informal in nature means they do not have to follow fixed rules as to how the proceedings will happen. But whereas in an arbitration tribunal, it is semi-formal in nature. It is not as formal as the turn of a court and completely informal in case of what is called as a Lok Adalat. It is semi-formal. They do follow certain rules, but it is not very rigid in nature. So that is the difference in terms of the proceedings. Second difference could be qualification of judges. Who can act as judges? In a tribunal, someone should be of a judicial background or someone should be of a legal background. So the Arbitration and Conciliation Act itself says that who can act as an arbitration tribunal. But whereas when it comes to the Lok Adalat, in a Lok Adalat, they can be a judge, they may be a social activist, even without having any judicial background, they can act as what is called as a judge. So qualification of judge varies between these two domains. Consent of the parties, that is again a very important difference. To go to the Lok Adalat to resolve the dispute, the consent of the willing parties is very, very important. But however, when you look into the arbitration tribunal, the consent of the parties is not important when they go to the arbitration tribunal. If there is a prior arbitration clause in the agreement that they have entered into, subsequently the dispute arises, they want to resolve the dispute. But if there is a prior clause, the clause itself is sufficient enough, they can approach what is called as a tribunal. Whether they consent or they don't consent, at least even if the other party is not consenting, the party, one of the party can still take it to what is called as arbitration tribunal. Appeals, in case of what is called as the Lok Adalat, the order passed by the judge is final and binding. There can be no appeal against the order of Lok Adalat. But whereas in case of the arbitration tribunal, limited appeal is possible, provided that the principle of natural justice is not followed when the tribunal passes the order or something. So limited appeal is allowed. Funding, the cases resolved in case of what is called as Lok Adalat is completely state funding. But whereas when it comes to funding of the arbitration tribunal, here there is no state funding, it is a private funding. The private parties have to meet out those expenses. So these are all few differences between both the things. You can bring out those things in a tabular format. The question is not yet over. So we'll have to completely try to resolve all the things. Do they entertain civil and criminal cases as well? That's the last part of the question, which I am bringing into the third part as a part of again the difference. So you can come to the third part after explaining all those things. You can say, Now, both Lok Adalat and arbitration tribunals, though both are part of what is called as ADR, but whereas I said that in case of Lok Adalat, the objectives are little different, is to provide equal access to justice to all the people and to reduce the pendency in the courts. So therefore, when it comes to Lok Adalat, both the civil and the criminal cases are allowed. So in Lok Adalat, both the civil and criminal cases can go. Although in the criminal cases in Lok Adalat, only the compoundable offences can be heard, not the non-compoundable offences. Compoundable offences are very petty offences like check bounce cases, though it is a criminal case, assault cases, minor assault cases. So these are all permissible, not the major criminal cases, which are all considered to be non-compoundable offences. But whereas when it comes to arbitration tribunal, in arbitration tribunal, criminal cases are not allowed. Only the commercial disputes, only cases which are civil and which are commercial in nature, only those disputes are allowed. So that you can do it in the last part of the answer. So 3 paragraphs including the table, your body part is done. Now finally you can write the conclusion very simply. Although this question does not explicitly require a conclusion, because it's a very straightforward question. Now conclusions are very important, probably in a question where that seeks your opinion, especially when the directives like comment is there, when the directives like critically analyze is there or critically examine is there, which does which does definitely require your comment, your conclusion, but here it is not explicitly required. But still, if you want to give a good closure, you can do that. So how you can do that? You can say that both Lok Adalat and arbitration tribunals in our country had played a very important role as a part of the alternate dispute resolution mechanism in reducing the pendency of cases and in reducing the cost of litigation. But however, to get the fullest benefit of this ADR mechanism, it is also very important that the necessary awareness has to be spread to the people, and therefore the full benefits of these mechanisms can reach the people of our country. So therefore that can be used as a conclusion to this particular question. So in this way, if you write, your introduction will not take you more than 2 to 3 lines, your conclusion will not take you more than 3 to 4 lines, and then the body part where you will address whatever is the demand of the question. All right. So in this way, what we will do is we will try to solve 100 questions in this particular series. I am sure that it is going to be extremely useful to the students, because this is an area where you do not get it in the conventional classroom program, because answer writing is not dealt in most of the areas, and I have been in this field for more than 10-15 years. So I exactly know that where the demand is needed for the students, and sometimes a classroom program cannot meet all these requirements, because all these things can be built gradually only a period of time. So therefore, I wanted to do this particular series, which can be extremely useful to the students. 100 questions from all the papers, one by one, I'll take it up. Okay. So in the coming lectures, I'll take up the other subjects as well. So if you have any questions, you can also reach out to me through my Instagram account or through my Telegram channel. Thank you very much. And if you like this video, please share it with your friends and others who are preparing for the civil service examination. All the very best. Thank you.